Yeah, I kind of like the SEC having divisions though, and they're bringing in Texas.
Why? Because it's the only
Oklahoma.
chance that Florida has to make an SEC championship.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I really appreciate like not having to play at Alabama every year.
I don't know what I'm doing. This is not the intro. Wait, I mean, you're a Patriots fan. You're kind of like you're kind of not a sadist. You're a masochist. So
Wow.
you could watch the Patriots play football and then punish yourself even more by drinking Heinekens.
Yeah, I was just complaining to the play call with my dad. You know, like I don't know what's up with McDaniel, man. Like I don't know if he's getting too cute. I don't know what he's doing, but
He stopped drooling. He needs more nicotine.
Yeah,
he needs something.
Listen, it was a good week for Zach Stradamus.
It was.
Good week.
I'm taking the Bucs.
I'm taking the Bucs as well.
If Trevor was actually a Bucs fan, he would say Bucs by 50.
I'm not a fan. I'm an analyst.
Maybe he is a Bucs fan, and that's why he didn't say that. Because every time he says by 50, any team by 50, they lose. It's practically become my motto this year. I don't believe in love.
I mean, if you're an Eagles fan, you probably should hate yourself because.
He has returned. It's me. I'm back. Beerly Zach. You know what it is. I'm about to attack. Welcome back to another episode of the Beerly Football Podcast. It's about football, but Beerly. I'm your host, Zachary Smith. Join me as always are my two very good friends, Trevor Scott, Kerry Dempsey. How are we doing tonight, boys?
Doing lovely. It's June. Football is not in the air. But if you're a Celtics fan, it's great to be alive.
Are you a Celtics fan?
Sometimes.
I was gonna say, don't come out of those bushes.
I watched like 2 games this season. Basically a fan, but rep Boston. Why not?
It's also a good time to be a golf fan. Zach, the last day of that U.S. Open was pretty fun.
That was pretty wild, man. That was pretty wild.
That was a fun little final round there.
Speaking of golf, who's ready to get plastered and talk about what they're drinking tonight?
Wow, that was a good one.
What is that? I can't tell what that is.
It's a golf towel.
Oh, nice.
It says plastered instead of masters.
Pretty impressive.
I got
Pretty nice.
Interesting. If you
Very
want
on brand.
Trevor, what you got?
I actually went to a liquor store today, and there was no beer in there. She said you'd have to walk to the gas station next door. It would have been about a 45-second walk, so naturally I just got something else that was already inside the liquor store.
Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks with you.
Interesting.
Is he dead?
It was such a bad.
Yeah, it was so bad.
Out.
What are you drinking, Kerry?
You know what? Feeling patriotic today, so I had a Live Light Lager, a craft light beer from New Hampshire, Concord Craft Brewing Company. This is about as light as possible. But Zach didn't even see this last week. I'm like, beer
Kerry, don't pour it the same way you poured it last week. No.
That's too much head. That's way too much head.
That is the only time where too much head is a bad thing.
But I recommend this.
Before I cut out.
Try it out.
Before I cut out, and you guys had to hear Kerry say lager instead of lager. That almost sounds like a slur, man. But anyways.
Such a lager, brother.
Closest thing I could find to beer in this, what do they call it? Alcohol shop? Jeez, you wouldn't think I'm...
Liquor store?
Think I'm 19, man. Yeah, liquor store. Monaco cocktails. Got a picture of a chicken. So a cocktail kind of. They're gluten-free. I don't really know what gluten
I feel like every drink like that would be gluten-free.
Well, listen to this. Premium mixed drink made with cognac, grape liqueur, and natural flavors. It just tastes like...
feeling those natural flavors aren't that natural.
It tastes like Hennessy and grape juice. So
yeah, I don't think anything with purple is going to be that natural, honestly.
That's true.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Shit.
Alrighty, so for me tonight, I got about the worst beer I could find, but it's a hearty beer. You know, it goes to the heart of America following the U.S. Open, Bryson DeChambeau's win this past weekend. We're going with the High Gravity Steel Reserve Lager.
Do you feel like a miner when you drink that?
Slow brewed for exceptionally smooth flavor, so we're going to get a first taste tonight. Extra malted barley and select hops for extra gravity. For those of you who don't know what gravity is, it means it's more alcoholic. 8.1% tonight, boys.
Wow, really
I
bringing
got
up
it.
the argument
I
tonight.
touch it 9.0, but this is not any sort of beer.
You know what? I thought I was going to taste more alcoholic. It's pretty good. But without further ado, wow, one sip. Without further ado, let's bring on our guests. We're talking NFC South. Let's go. We're going to bring on Kyle Bailey. How are we doing tonight?
What's up, fellas? How are y'all?
Pretty good, man. Glad to have you on. Glad to talk some Panthers in June.
I thought you were gonna say AFC South, and I was about to dip out.
That was last week, I think.
Are you enjoying beer tonight, or is that something else? Is that SpaghettiOs?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's electrolytes, big guy. I got 3 kids. I got 3 kids under 3. I'm just trying to survive over here.
Oh, gotcha.
There you go. Before we get into things, you want to tell people where they can find you, check you out?
Yeah, sure. WFNZ Charlotte. We're the home of Charlotte Sports. We're the Charlotte Sports Leader, 92.7 FM. We're the home of the Hornets, Charlotte FC out of the MLS. Obviously, we talk a ton of Panthers. You can find us there terrestrially on the FM dial. You can find us on the website, pretty much anywhere you get a stream, anywhere from our website, our stream, Odyssey, to, I'll just put it this way, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google. So let's just go there.
There you go.
All right, let's start off with the big question in Carolina this season, which I feel like if this year's a win for the Panthers, it's going to be about this guy. What are your thoughts on Bryce Young year 2?
Cautiously optimistic, I think, is the only way. There's some people that are out on him. I think it's premature to ever be out on a quarterback after year 1, with maybe a rare exception or two, but cautiously optimistic. Last year was a disaster. The coaching staff, which was highly regarded in the preseason, turned out to be, probably too many chefs in the kitchen. Frank Reich's offense was not exactly innovative. The offensive line was bad. The pass catching targets, wide receivers specifically, didn't get open very often. And then Bryce Young made compounding rookie mistakes on top of it. So it all, amounted to a season where they never held a single lead in the fourth quarter all year long, which was really hard to watch from fans to media alike. So, year 2, you bring in Dave Canales. You got a guy who coached Geno Smith during his resurgent year in Seattle. Same for Baker Mayfield in Tampa last year. And so the hope is, of course, that Dave Canales is going to work his magic on Bryce Young, who showed a remarkable level of toughness and resiliency last year. Only missed 1 game and took a hell of a beating. I mean, top 5, 5th most sacks ever in a single season. Tied for first most in franchise history. So, I think he's tough. I think he has great leadership qualities. I think he's very cerebral, which we knew coming out of the draft. But, this offense has to be better, and they've committed to it around him. And, now it's going to – I don't think they're expecting immediate greatness, but, they're looking for progress here in year 2 now that conditions are better. So I think cautiously optimistic is the right way to put it.
I like how you said tough. It was pretty big, especially given his size. I mean, I'm sure from the day y'all drafted him, you didn't hear, nothing but about his small size and everything. But playing 16 games, taking all those hits he took, he was definitely tough. And I mean, if anything else, from the outside looking in, that's probably a huge takeaway from his rookie season.
And do you think they did enough this season to get him some help? I know they addressed the O-line a bit, added a couple weapons for him, but do you think it's enough for him to take that next step?
I think the answer is yes. I'll be very interested to see, like everybody else, how they pared down the wide receiver room in the preseason and training camp and throughout the preseason. Obviously, they brought in Xavier Leggett in the draft, the final pick of the first round, who I love. But he's far from polished, and I think he's working on that. But I don't think anyone expects him to be elite right out of the gates. They traded for Deontay Johnson out of Pittsburgh, which I thought was maybe some of the best business that Dan Morgan did this offseason, because they were looking at having to cut Dante Jackson, but instead they turned it into a trade with Pittsburgh. Johnson's, I think, a very good player, but his time in Pittsburgh had kind of worn out and worn thin. So he gets a fresh start here. And all he does is get open. And that's the one thing this wide receiver group did not have last year. So, you bring him in. Adam Thielen's coming back. They've made some signings in free agency that make some sense. They're turning over rocks everywhere to bring in wide receivers. Jonathan Mingo's going into year 2. So, yeah, I think overall the wide receiver room is absolutely better than it was last year.
Yeah, and Adam Thielen started off pretty hot. How long have you been a Panthers fan?
So I've been here in the market for going on 8 years now. I'd say it's about the same time I've been a quote unquote Panthers fan. I've rooted for multiple teams in my life. You get into the business, you also kind of, start to lose a little bit of that. But for me, being here, it was the closest team to me growing up. I just took the roundabout way to rooting for this team. So, I've kind of followed them since their inception, like pretty much everybody else. But I'd say 8 years that almost is really, really day in, day out being on top of the team.
Gotcha. So last year was definitely the hardest year as a fan you've witnessed for the Panthers.
There's been a few bad years.
It has been a couple here and there. I mean, the year before.
But no leads in the fourth quarter. I hadn't heard that until tonight.
Oh, it's brutal. It was absolutely brutal. I mean, sitting in the press box every week, just knowing it was going nowhere was unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, the year before they went to the Super Bowl in 2003 was awful. They were, let's see, what were they? 1-15 the year before they got Cam. So there have been some pretty awful years. But in terms of hopelessness, chaos, I mean, the real compounding problem has been, David Tepper as an owner, where, 6 years of ownership, 6 straight missed years of the playoffs, things happening off the field, failed project in Rock Hill to get a practice facility off the ground. So the football was bad, and it was made worse by the fact that a still relatively new owner is not very well liked around town.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. You touched on that receiver core a little bit. I'm looking at it here. I see 3 good names just off the edge of the paper: Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, Ezekiel Leggett, and then some depth behind that. Would you say that's the best part of this team right now? The best group?
Offensively, you mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to say because they haven't done anything together. I think there's some talent in the backfield. I think that they've done a good job on the offensive line this offseason. You've got a Super Bowl champion in Austin Corbett shifting to center, a guy who's still relatively young but coming off an injury. Taylor Moton's rock solid at right tackle. They signed Robert Hunt to big money out of Miami. I mean, I think the Dolphins would have loved to have kept him. They just, they couldn't afford to with where else they're spending money, and with Tua's tab coming due, and obviously Waddle and Hill, both getting paid. So they did that. They brought in Damian Lewis out of Seattle. So I think they beefed up the offensive line well. Ike Ekwonu, the left tackle, was a 6th overall pick, had a really strong rookie year, but then really regressed last year. I think that group, I saw some predictive analytics that has them as a top 10 pass protecting group in the league this year. I only bring that up because they've been right before. So I could see that group collectively being really good together. It's hard to say. I mean, I think it's a great question. I just don't know, coming off of 2-15, which area you're supposed to feel super confident about.
Right.
And
yeah.
I feel like the one that I saw Panthers fans get pretty mad at this season was the Brian's Bird trade. Were you mad with them letting Burns go this offseason?
I'm mad. I was irritated by how poorly they mishandled it from the jump. It should have never gotten to that point. If they wanted to keep him, they probably should have signed him up and locked him up to the money they wanted to lock him up to 2 off seasons ago. But the previous general manager, I mean, as all 3 of you probably know, at one point, not last season, but season before last, the Rams offered them 2 firsts and a second for Brian Burns, and they turned it down. Now in hindsight, given what they got for him, that's absolutely awful and malpractice and should result in somebody getting fired. And that's more or less what happened here with Scott Fitterer getting shown the door. So I wasn't that upset. I really wasn't upset by it the day that it happened, because everybody at that point felt like they just needed to do it to get it done. And, Brian Burns is a very good player. You can absolutely argue whether or not he's elite. In the Myles Garrett, J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt, Bosa type, or is he there? I think he's close, but I think he's behind all those guys. And so the money kept creeping up. They weren't comfortable with it. And they had just screwed the entire situation up so badly that it was best probably to rip the Band-Aid off and move on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of Panthers fans were kind of sick of, what they got in return from that deal. as well as the McCaffrey deal.
Yep.
So yeah, like you said, that's really the kind of stuff that gets people fired. But
Yeah.
better days ahead, hopefully.
Yeah. All right, I'm starting to do this new segment with all guests. So I'm going to ask you about 10 questions, rapid fire. I don't want you to think about them. Just give your quickest answer you could do for them. All right, you ready?
All right, sounds good.
All right, if you could be friends with any player in the Panthers, who would it be?
Oh, long snapper J.J. Jansen, coolest dude on the
I
team.
love that answer. That's a good answer.
Long snappers, man.
Long snappers,
They
man.
do.
They don't get any
All right.
respect.
Best move of the offseason.
Oh, drafting Xavier Liga.
You guys like
I
him.
like
You
that
guys
bit.
like him a lot.
I like him a lot. Yeah, I think he's a beast. I think now that the kickoff matters again, he's potentially going to be a monster on on kickoff return as well. So I'm excited for all of it.
Definitely. All right, worst move of the offseason.
Still burns.
Yeah.
Again, it was not the wrong thing to do at the time, but never should have gotten there.
All right, what grade would you give the Panthers draft this year before heading into the season? Obviously, it's early, but
Me personally, I'm going to say B. B. I would have liked to have seen them take one of the guards in this draft, or one of the centers rather. Like I said, I like Corbett there, but Corbett has been playing the interior for the last. And I know I'm getting long-winded, so I'm sorry. I'm probably screwing up the game here.
No, you're great.
But no, I mean Corbett has been a great guard at times. He hasn't played center in 5 years. I think he can do it, but he's coming off an injury, and I would have liked to have seen them take like a Zach Frazier out of West Virginia. So I'll go with that.
Especially with a great name like Zach.
biggest team weakness heading into this season.
Edge rusher.
Biggest
Jadeveon
strength.
Clowney.
Love Clowney. But what else they have is a little uncertain. DJ Wanham, good player, probably not. We wouldn't call him a great player coming off a fairly serious injury. And then behind him, it's a whole bunch of dudes you've never heard of, who may or may not produce this year. We're certainly hoping that they do. But I like their starting two. Beyond that, it's a little dicey.
Mm-hmm. All right, biggest strength heading into this season.
Ooh. Defensive coordinator, the return of Ejiro Evero.
Team MVP for 2024.
Bryce Young.
Okay.
All right, I'll take it. One surprising and one disappointing player for 2024.
Surprising and disappointing. Surprising. Terrace Marshall Jr., a guy who was drafted by Matt Rule and Joe Brady and is still on the roster, but has potential, and they think they're seeing some things over there. So maybe this is the final surprise breakout, or finally the surprise breakout of TMJ. You said, what was the second one? The most disappointing, you said?
Yep.
Oh, that's tough. Most disappointing. I'm going to say Robert Hunt, not because I think he will be, but if you just paid a guy $93 million and he doesn't play well or gets hurt in the first year, which is possible with offensive linemen. I hate to say it, but I'll throw that out there.
All right, and then projected division standings. You don't have to give records or anything, but where do you think all 4 teams, the NFC South, will end up?
I will say, as of today, Falcons win the division at 11-6.
Wow.
I think Tampa finishes second at 9-8. Carolina goes 8-9, and the Saints bring up the rear at
I like
at 5-12.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Saints and last, I would love that.
Yep.
All right, that's it for me. You guys got any other questions? I know Zach.
Yeah, I got one. I've been trying to keep up with some mini camps and OTAs, some of the bigger stories, the more flashier names. But I haven't really paid too much attention to Carolina. Besides Xavier Leggett, is there a guy who's been showing out in OTAs, mini camps, who the average fan might not know of, that a year from now might be like, oh, that's that guy down in Carolina, right?
So I don't know that he's been showing out, and because they're in helmets and shorts. So
right.
you gotta take that, and I know you know that, but I will say Jatavion Sanders, the rookie tight end out of Texas. He was a projected first-round pick at the end of last season. Panthers ended up getting him in the 4th round, but still incredibly athletic and has some real potential at the tight end spot. So I'll say Jatavion Sanders.
Young too, 21.
Yep.
Okay. And a tight end too is a good thing for a young quarterback.
Absolutely.
Yep.
You know, be able to safety blanket for Bryce Young, and he's a backup too. So I mean,
All right, Zach.
All right, so I asked this question to every guest that's come on the pod during these off-season episodes where we break down divisions. All right, you can't tell it by the jersey I'm wearing because I'm wearing my old high school practice jersey. But I'm a Jaguars fan. I ask every guest, what is your record prediction for the Jaguars this season?
Big Trevor Lawrence guy here. I'm going to say the Jags go 12-5 and win the division.
I love that. I love that. I love this guy. We need to have him back. Gotta have him back. Thank you again, Kyle, for coming on. I'll just go ahead and I'd love for you to plug yourself one more time before we send you off.
Yeah, sure. So again, WFNZ Charlotte 92.7 FM afternoons 3 to 6. I also host a podcast with former Saints safety Roman Harper, Bailey and Harper. So we have a lot of fun with that. We just have a good time in Charlotte 3 to 6 every day.
All righty. Thank you again, Kyle, for coming on. Make sure you check him out and have a good night.
Hey, you fellas have a good one. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Now, welcoming on. Welcoming on our next guest, Atlanta Falcons apologist. Is it Savion?
Oh, perfect. Listen to that.
All right.
That's pretty good.
I just wanted to make sure. All right. Coming on to talk Falcons. All right. And
tonight?
guys, I've been waiting for this guy to come on because I am going to make my official prediction for the winner of this division right here, right now. All right.
Wow.
The winner of the division. The winner of the division, guys.
The New Orleans Saints.
It's the Atlanta Falcons.
Wow.
It's the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh,
Sorry to everybody else. I'm so sorry. It's the Falcons. They're going to win this division. And you know what? I don't even think it's going to be close. I think that they got this thing already wrapped up. Go Falcons.
my brother. I used to pray for times like this. I mean that warmed my heart, man. That warmed my heart. Who's that on the back of the jersey?
Jonathan Abraham.
Oh my God.
Old school.
Oh my God.
And Zach has never been a Falcons fan. He just has a Jonathan Abraham. Amazing.
I mean, how can you not? He's
John.
the
So
last-
so this was my practice jersey. It's number 60. When I was playing, I was 55. So
For Abraham?
55. I was big Terrell Suggs, Jonathan Abram, all those guys.
I
Wow.
actually have an Adrian Claiborne jersey.
For just to have it, that's
Not a Falcons.
of course it is. Of course. You know, whatever. You know, it is what it is. How are you guys doing, man? Appreciate y'all having me on.
Good.
We're
How are
doing
you?
good, man. I'm drinking 8% alcohol beer, talking football. It doesn't get much better than this.
That's
It's life.
I mean, football could be on, but
Yeah.
That could be better, yeah.
You want to plug yourself where people could find you before we get going?
Yeah, 100%, man. At @MixNS_NFL. I am currently writing at the Sporting News right now. Also have a wonderful podcast brought to you by Around the Block Network. When you're not watching these three guys here, you can go over to atbnetwork.com. See a couple podcasts there too. But it's the New Millennium Falcons podcast. And yeah, it's all Falcons for me right now, man. I actually watched I actually covered the Vikings last year, so it's actually kind of funny that now I have Kirk Cousins as the quarterback again. Apparently, he followed me wherever I'm going. So, yeah, I don't know where I'm going to be in 2 years if that's the case.
Do you think there's any fans out there that would follow Kirk Cousins the way that like players like follow LeBron, whatever team LeBron's on? I like that.
There's got to be a Kirk Cousins stance out there.
I'm going to tell you this.
I'm one of them. I'll tell you that right now.
When Marcus Mariota was quarterback for us in 2021, he had stands that were unlike anything that you will find. So
I can't
Hawaii.
even believe those guys
Probably.
existed. Definitely wasn't me.
and
Definitely
they were
wasn't me preseason talking about Marcus
Yo.
Mariota.
and they were like, Marcus hasn't had a chance. Marcus hasn't done this. Marcus has been in this position. Has been in this predicament. And that's the reason why this hasn't happened. And I'm like, all right, cool, awesome. But do you see what's happening on the field, though? Like, do you understand what's going on in Atlanta as to why we may not be as gung-ho as you are about Marcus Mariota being our quarterback right now?
Atlanta Falcons quarterback play under Arthur Smith was just pathetic. How long was he there? 3 years?
3 years.
That was a long 3 years. That must have been a long 3 years for you guys.
I want to say that we were 21st in EPA over those 3 years, and I truly think that is only because Matt Ryan just happened to stay for 21. I don't know what these last 2 years were. I didn't even look it up because I was scared to see what the number was. But yeah, man, it's been a train wreck for these last 3 years. So
and now you got too many quarterbacks.
yeah, we have
It's a better problem to have.
We have the best problem possible, I guess. Like everybody's looking for a quarterback. The Raiders still don't know who theirs is, and we have two. So,
how did you feel when you heard they drafted him? I mean, Falcons Twitter was just nuts after that.
No, I was hurt because I wanted either Leatu Latu or Dallas Turner more than I wanted to breathe. You see that jersey that he has up there? That's the last pass rusher that I could say, yep, we are good to go. And that was back, and he left in 2013.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was 100% on the listen. Oh, Dallas Turner isn't this good. Leatu Latu isn't that good. Fine, take a shot. But breathing it in and hearing the understanding, hearing the rationale behind it. Do I like it? Hell no. But am I going to live with it? Fine. I can understand.
5 years from now, you might have a couple gray hairs, and it's a Jordan Love situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe.
And that's what we're banking on. Because if it's not that, Terry Fontenot will be looking for a job soon.
Yeah.
It's never good. It's never good when they go to the situation room of the Falcons directly after making the pick. The owner's in there, and he's like, this is and this, and we're doing, and that's why we.
Apparently, that was supposed to be like him discussing how he was supposed to be trading back in for Leatu Latu. Not exactly explaining like, listen, this is because we have Penix now. We could be good for 5 years. Like, apparently that's not what happened. Apparently he was like, listen, so now we got to.
That's what it looked like on TV.
That's exactly what it looked like. That's exactly what it looked like.
The owner walked in there and he's like this. He's like, what the fuck did you guys just do to my team?
Is there two Fontenos or is there just one?
There's one Fontenot. That is it. It's just Terry.
The worst part is like, if this team had competent quarterback play last year, they'd easily won the division. Could have gone far in the playoffs.
That's what they're banking on.
They got Kirk Cousins.
I don't know.
This is a win now team. Add another. Even if they didn't take a pass rusher, add another receiver. Add somebody that's going to help you this year, not in 2030.
But Gary, I know how much you love Kirk Cousins. Zach, you too.
Yeah.
Like a pocket passer, 30-something years old, off of an Achilles. You don't know what that's going to look like. No.
So that's the biggest thing for me is that, one of the things that really impressed me last year when it came to Kirk Cousins was his pocket mobility. He was the fact that he was able to step up in the pocket and he looked a bit calmer in Kevin O'Connell's second year in that offense. Kevin O'Connell's second year. Now he is, he hurt that plant foot. He hurt that foot that he would be planting off of and moving around if he was to move around in the pocket. So it makes me, it gives you pause, not to mention the fact that the man's going to be 37, so it almost makes you wonder, like, did they get Penix as insurance? Like, listen, we know what Taylor Heineke is, and that ain't it. So let me go ahead and get this other quarterback just to make sure, like, if this dude does fizzle out and we just burn $90 million, we at least get something out of it. Like, I'm starting to think that maybe that was another aspect as to why you get Penix, but I don't know. Like like I said, the rationale is something I'm going to have to live with, but I'm never going to fully be 100% in on it.
I mean, if everything goes well, too, this should finally be the year Kyle Pitts and Drake London finally break out.
Kyle Pitts.
Hopefully.
I love Kyle Pitts so much, dude.
Maybe 2030 will be like,
But
this
you
is the
gotta
year Kyle Pitts.
You have to respect the memes when it comes to Kyle Pitts.
I really have to, because we have done everything in our power to just waste away this freaking unicorn, this talent. Whether it's having him as a decoy and having Jonnu Smith as the tight end one, we had Jonnu
or
He's the
Michael
real
Pruitt
unicorn.
or Michael
Jonnu
Pruitt
Smith.
as the
or
target.
Michael Pruitt as the primary target.
That's the
And
real
having him just run routes because we had nobody that could stretch the field deep, even though our quarterback couldn't throw that deep anyway. It's just it was remarkable. It needs to be studied how Arthur Smith simply just does not use his premier weapons.
I
That we
got
just
free
give
time
him.
this week. I might actually study that and get back to you on that.
Okay, because I'm not even gonna hold you. Like it doesn't.
Who
But as
had
far
more-
as-
I'm actually curious. Do you know who had more touchdowns last year, Kyle Pitts or Michael Pruitt?
I want to say Michael Pruitt, if I'm not mistaken. I really
Yeah.
do think. I really think Pitts only had 2.
I think Michael Pruitt at least had 3 or 4. Which
That's
is
our-
crazy.
Atlanta Falcons passing game, everybody. That is what we do. Desmond Ridder to Michael Pruitt for the dub.
All right,
God.
we're gonna try another segment with you that we do with our guests now. We're gonna ask you 10 questions rapid fire. Don't want you to think about it. Just give the fastest answer you can.
Let's do it.
You ready? All right.
Let's hit it.
If you could be friends with any player on the Falcons, who would it be?
Bijan Robinson. That dude just admits just superstar, and not only superstar, he just looks like a cool dude. Plus, he's God-given. What is it? God-fearing dude. So can't go wrong with that.
You think he's gonna really break out this year too?
He broke out last year, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, he had 1,400 scrimmage yards last year, and they stuffed the box for us. So having them spread out and having him being able to be used kind of how he's supposed to be, whether that's in a slot or in the backfield.
And on top of that, I hate to get so away from rapid fire. I know it's supposed to be rapid theory, but with Kirk Cousins now in mini camp, I've heard they're pushing the ball down the field early in drives, early in the downs, his first down and second down, and they're throwing it down the field, which is something you probably haven't seen since Matt Ryan left. So
Correct.
that should open up a ton of space, both running and catching a football for Bijan Robinson. So fantasy football, get Bijan Robinson in the first round.
Absolutely. I don't think
Top
he
6.
should. He
Top
should
7.
not last out of the top 5. I was just about to say that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see a scenario where he's, if not close to McCaffrey, easily the second best running back in the NFL, if not close to there already.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that too.
Even
I could see
he
that
could
too.
he could overtake McCaffrey. You never know. All right. Biggest win of the offseason for the Falcons.
Addition by subtraction. Getting rid of Desmond Ridder and bringing in Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest
far.
L of the offseason.
Got to go with drafting Penix. I mean, you
Yeah.
didn't help 2024 whatsoever in the first round. So
And I think wasn't the second round pick pretty a reach too? I forget.
Rook or Roro. Yeah.
Yeah.
We drafted Scooby Doo to headline the middle.
That's
of
the best thing I've
interior.
ever heard. We drafted Scooby Doo.
But I mean, he's just a project, and I mean, he could be, he could be something in the middle, but
Out of Clemson, right?
out of Clemson, yeah, long dude, freaking long arms and really athletic, but he, you're banking on him being good in like 2 years. So, did you really help 2024 with that either? So it's
Rough draft.
rough
And
draft.
speaking of draft, what grade would you give the Falcons draft?
C, maybe a C plus if you bring in a little bit of value, because I do think Brandon Dorless in the 4th was just chef's kiss. I also liked what's his name, Jace McClellan. Let's say something happens to Bijan or Tyler Algier, now you have that. Now you have his third back from Alabama that can run that kind of wide zone, mid zone scheme. So it's when you factor in value, you can put it up to a C+, but I give it a C just because of the first couple of rounds.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
Biggest team weakness and biggest team strength heading into next season.
Biggest team strength by far the running back room and
Yeah.
the running game in general, because they
Yeah.
have that nasty offensive line in front of them that just loves to run block. And then you have maybe the most talented running back room right now. I'm not sure if it's hyperbole to say that.
It's got to be close.
It has
'Cause,
to be close.
Because Algier, Algier is a solid running back. Like he'd probably be on the I'd probably put him bottom tier, like RB1, and then you have arguably one of the more talented running backs in the league.
Yeah, I would say
And
Algier is probably like a top 25 back, top 30.
And you have that as your Thunder. Like that's just the guy that comes in when Bijan is being used in another way.
Yeah.
So you have the most talented running back room. You have a nasty offensive line that does enjoy run blocking.
Oh, speaking of that, what happened in that game where Bijan Robinson had he just didn't get a touch in the first half or something?
Migraine.
I lost in fantasy that week by 0.2.
Nope.
Whatever.
Nope. I know. A lot of us did. I think I lost that week too. I mean, Bijan wouldn't have helped much, but I do think he could have helped a little bit. But yeah. Apparently he had a migraine, and they just didn't report that, which I don't know if you can do that.
And
but
whatever.
All right.
Football.
Team MVP for 2024.
Team MVP for 2024. Kyle Pitts. Honestly, I truly think that Kyle Pitts is going to have that breakout year that everybody's looking for. I truly think that he's going to be used both as an out wide option, in line. He's going to be used a lot in this offense.
Well, and Kirk Cousins likes throwing to tight ends too. So
exactly, and he has not had one. He hasn't had one as talented as Kyle Pitts yet. So,
all right, and lastly, what is your projected division standings for the NFC South? Don't need to give records, just where you think they'll go, and what record do you think the Falcons won with?
Falcons, Bucs, Panthers, Saints.
Oh, nobody likes it.
Ooh.
I don't like it. I truly feel that this might be the year that the Saints is like, damn, I guess we finally got to rebuild.
That would be nice.
They've been fighting it for years.
And it's like, I think this might be the year where they're finally going to come to roost. I'll go with the Falcons win it narrowly at 10-7.
Okay.
All right. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. You guys got any other questions?
Yeah, I do. Talked about the offense a lot. Defense, AJ Terrell, household name. Jesse Bates, household name. Saw Richie Grant play some last year, struggle a little bit in the pass coverage. But besides those two guys, Bates and Terrell, what can you tell me about this defense? Can I get excited for anything about this defense besides those two guys?
You can be excited that Raheem Morris and Jimmy Lake are the ones that are calling it, because
Morris is a good defensive coach. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
They took that Rams defense and they made them, they made them malleable last year. They were able to actually
impressive. And the Rams played a ton of rookies last year.
Especially on the defensive end.
Yeah.
So
just defensively, yeah.
So that's what gives me hope as far as the actual Jimmys and Joes on there. You got those names. You have like you said in the back you have AJ and Bates. Grant is I'm at my wit's end with Grant. This is my last chance I'm giving to Grant. But as far as quarterback 2, I'm still a little shaky on. I don't know whether we're going to put Clark Phillips there because we're going to be having such a zone-heavy scheme. And we're like, listen, he's very instinctual. Could be putting a guy with length like Mike Hughes or Kevin King out there. But it's like, how much enthusiasm can you get for that? So we have a really good linebacking core. I think that's one thing that nobody's going to really talking about with the Falcons. Landon, Ellis, and Anderson. Yeah, and I was just about to get to that too. Yeah, I think we have an underrated edge group. Sort of. It's not like they're like any world beaters, but they are good. So I do think that Carter and Ed McKetty could do some good things. But yeah.
All right, Zach, take it away.
All righty. Ask this question to everybody. Even though I'm wearing my high school jersey, I am a Jags fan. So, what is your prediction for the Jaguars' record this year?
You didn't think you were going to have to think about this tonight, did you?
Well, I'm actually from Jacksonville, which is crazy.
I thought I saw Eric Dunn at a Wawa this week, but it wasn't him.
That's crazy.
And no, he was wearing a Jag shirt, is why I thought it was.
Yeah.
Was he like 6'4" and like huge?
Like
I don't
he's
know.
got to be a big dude. He's
Yeah.
got to be a pretty big dude. Eric Dunn is up there. Like there's a lot of confidence in that 6'4" frame, and that's why.
I was like 5'10".
Jacksonville. Damn. Let's go with. I don't think Jacksonville wins the division, but I also think your division is very fun. So
Wait,
I'm
so who
going
wins
to.
it?
Oh, Houston.
Not Indianapolis.
I'm going to go with 9-8, just sneaking in.
Okay.
I'll take
All
it.
right. I'll take it. It's a winning record.
I'll take. Yeah, I can.
I've had
I
to deal
can
with
give you
losing
9-8.
records too much in my Jaguar fanhood, so
Yeah,
I'll
I'll take
it's
every
not
winning
fun.
record I can. So
All right, you want to plug yourself again?
Yes, at @MixandS_NFL. I'm down there on Twitter at the Sporting News. Go to sportingnews.com/US/news/Atlanta Falcons, and you can find all of my work there.
all righty. Thank you, Savion, for coming on, talking Falcons with us. And
Appreciate
we
you
will
guys, man.
hopefully see you soon.
Yeah, thank y'all. I appreciate it.
All righty.
Do we have a Saints guest?
Yes.
Is it Tina?
No.
God damn it. Why not?
Next, we got Bob Rose.
What happened to
Let me
Tina?
see you, Bob.
How we doing tonight?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me on. How y'all doing?
Great.
Lovely.
Great.
Doing well.
There. I see the jersey, the helmet. You got a little bit of everything back there. You in the main?
Oh, I do. My office is in the corner of the living room, and all the autograph stuff goes all the way down to there. I got some of the perks of the job, I guess.
I like it. Where can people find you? Anything you want to plug before we get going?
We're not going to run it this week, but I'd like to get a word in about my weekly show, the Bayou Blitz, too.
All right.
Alrighty.
Well,
Is that a podcast? Can be found anywhere you can find podcasts?
Just search for Bayou Blitz. We put the show links on my personal pages, both Twitter and Facebook, and most available on YouTube. But we're going to open it up to Spotify too. Hopefully, we're going to figure out how to do a live feed there. Usually, we run every Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern time. But my co-host this week is traveling and planning for a wedding at the same time. Not much news this time of the off season. I'm like, you know what? We deserve a week off, so we took it.
Yeah.
we get them all the time.
Yeah, we take it back at this time. We go every other week.
Yeah,
It's
bye week.
Yeah.
tough. May, June, July. What do you talk about? You know,
Right.
You know, we got a Saints fan on, and I don't even want to ask you about football right away. I want to ask you about gumbo. When's the last time you had some good gumbo? You know?
Well, I live in the Pittsburgh area, so I only get gumbo during the football season when I am down in New Orleans. But it's hard to get bad gumbo if you're in the Louisiana area. And if you haven't tried it, you have to. But you have to do it. You have to do it right, and you have to do it in the Gulf Coast region. Otherwise, it don't count.
The Louisiana hot sauce is actually my favorite hot sauce. But we can start talking about football if anybody wants to,
We've had Panthers and Falcons guests on so far. Both of them had the Saints last in the division.
I saw that. I just laughed. I want to know what those guys are drinking because I need some.
They're probably
like-
having a Steel Reserve. It's 8.1% alcohol.
That'll do it.
Yeah. Two
I
or
feel
three
like-
of those.
The Saints are just lately have just been like ever since Breeze left, they've just been stuck in not good enough, but not bad enough. It's just like, do you think this is the year maybe they finally get over that hump?
No, no, I don't. I like a lot of the roster. I think this team, has a ton of talent, and they can compete with anybody on any given Sunday. But I don't like the head coach. I don't have a lot of confidence in him. Dennis Allen is a great defensive mind, maybe one of the top 3 or 5 in the league today. But I don't want him running my team. He has a lot to prove as far as game management, and just overall organizational ability. The fans in general are just, they soured on Derek Carr in an instant. And that's the curse you have when you replace a legend like Drew Brees. I mean, I know Jameis Winston was the immediate starter after Brees retired, but Jameis was in and out of the lineup with injuries and everything like that. Derek Carr was the guy that Dennis Allen handpicked to be his quarterback, and he stumbled out of the gate as well. I think Carr is closer to the quarterback we saw down the last 6 weeks of the season. But remember, they have a new offensive system, new offensive coordinator, so there's going to be some delays and a learning curve in picking up that system too. You have a defense that's aging and still a lot of talent, but this team just has too many question marks and what ifs at nearly every single position on the roster. I think that they'll be good. It wouldn't surprise me if they ended up being an 11-win team, but it also wouldn't surprise me if they ended up with a 10 or 11 losses either. I think that this team is capable of a wild swing either direction.
Yeah, they're definitely a team that's going to be competing every week. You don't see the Saints on the schedule and think it's an easy win or, a big loss right away. They didn't do Derek Carr any favors, this offseason. Looking at the depth chart, I see Olave, I see Rashid Shaheed. Anything past that, is there anything else on this receiving core, as far as wide receivers or tight ends that
You forgot-
you're excited about?
You forgot the hybrid Taysom Hill. So
There is always the Taysom Hill factor.
Pocket knife.
But the receiver to watch, and if you're a fantasy guy looking for a dark horse late in rounds, A.T. Perry is a guy to watch. I loved him at Wake Forest. I thought the Saints got an absolute steal. Not in this past draft, but last year's draft. He fell all the way to the 6th round. And he's a big-bodied guy with nice athleticism. I think he's going to be able to take some of those outside receiver reps to let Clint Kubiak move Shaheed around the formation, and that's what I expect to see out of the Saints this year. Do they have a top-tier receiving core? No, not really, because I like Olave a lot, but I wouldn't put him in the elite receiving category yet. Shaheed is a lot more than a deep threat. Someone forgot to tell Pete Carmichael that last year. But I mean, this kid, he's an underrated route runner, terrific open field skills. I mean, that's why he's such a good punt returner. So I think you're going to see a Rashid Shaheed take that next step as a receiver this year. But I think A.T. Perry is going to make a lot of people smile too if you're a Saints fan.
were you ready for them to move on from Michael Thomas, or did you want them to bring it back for another year?
Yeah, I was ready. It was time, mainly because for Michael Thomas, it was time. You don't miss as many games as he missed, and then you turn on your coaches, you turn on your teammates. There was just, I love Michael Thomas. I loved him loved watching him as a player. Loved what he did for the organization. But it was just a sour taste in everyone's mouth. I don't think I felt like coming into last year that it would probably be his last season with the way they structured the contract. I expected it to go down with a little bit more class than what it actually did. I wish Mike luck, I really do, but I knew he wasn't going to be back in a Saints uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. That year, what was it, 140 catches? That was insane.
Yeah.
Anything like it.
And I feel like the biggest issue of the Saints, which I don't know if you agree on, is going to be the line this year. Obviously, with Ramczyk probably could be out for the year, right? It sounds like. And I know Trevor Penning's kind of a bust. Don't have much faith in. Do you have any high hopes for this line at all, or do you think it's going to be a big nightmare for them this year?
Penning isn't starting though, is he?
Who?
Penning.
I think he's
what they're doing. They drafted Talise Fuaga in the first round out of Oregon State. I love this kid. Loved his film. He played right tackle most of his career in college. They were using him at left tackle through minicamp and OTAs, and with good reason, because you lost Andrus Peat in free agency, who was more of a guard anyway. Pete had to replace Trevor Penning, who you benched at left tackle after 5 or 6 games last year. So what they did with Fuaga, they moved him to left tackle, and they're trying out Penning at right tackle. We won't know how that works out until the pads go on for real and the games count. So there's unquestionably, that's by far the biggest question mark on this team, and it's what held them back last year. The quarterbacks, mostly Carr, was under heavy duress all year long. You couldn't establish the run to save your life because your offensive line was made up of human turnstiles. And now Ramczyk may not, he may not only miss the season, his career might be done with that knee injury.
Yeah.
And you're asking Trevor Penning to fill that spot. Nick Saldiveri is the early favorite right now to take James Hurst's spot at left guard. So you're really looking at potentially 3 new starters up front, plus Cesar Ruiz, who in my opinion regressed badly last year. Eric McCoy is the only solid proven player on that line. I think Fuaga could be a real fine player, and I think Penning will be ultimately a better fit on the right side than he was the left. And I love Saldiveri coming into last year's draft, but again, that's a whole lot of questions right now. For a new offensive coordinator, everybody's excited about what Clint Kubiak's system is going to look like. Well, you need to keep your quarterback upright, and you need to establish the run to be able to do it. And I don't have a lot of confidence, and these people that are saying, oh, they look good in OTAs, they look good in minicamp. I don't see how you can make that determination with any offensive line on any team, because nobody's allowed to touch each other anymore. So again, I'm glad that the Saints have not only a preseason game against the San Francisco 49ers, but scrimmages against them as well. Because that's going to be a real test for this offensive line, and kind of an early litmus test to see what kind of unit we're gonna have going into the season.
And
Stop it.
And
Sorry, guys.
Another thing I've seen the last couple of weeks, people hyping up Desmond Ritter there. Or not Desmond Ritter. I always get them confused every time. Rattler, not Riddler. Rattler, Riddler, same thing.
The Riddler.
What'd you think of that pick? And you have hopes for him at all?
I wasn't surprised that the Saints picked a quarterback in day 3. Was a little bit surprised it happened so early. But Rattler had a day 2 value and a lot of eyes. But the hype around him in Who Dat Nation especially, it's cracked me up because we do a live show through all 3 days of the draft with the Bayou Blitz, and as soon as the pick was made, I can't tell you how many times I said, even that day and since, Spencer Rattler was not drafted to take Derek Carr's job. It's as simple as this, guys, and all 3 of you know this. Mm-hmm. If your team selects a quarterback in the 3rd round, it's because they are hoping to kind of catch lightning in a bottle, and they see a guy on the board that fits their system. We all know the Tom Brady's, the Dak Prescott's, the Brock Purdy's. They were all day 3 picks. Kirk Cousins. Aside from those 4 guys, think of how many quarterbacks did absolutely nothing as day 3 picks.
Yeah.
You are just hoping to find a developmental project, just like they did when they drafted Jake Haener last year. Neither one of these guys are on the roster to take Derek Carr's job. Derek Carr was cemented as the starter as soon as the decision was made to bring Dennis Allen back. So, about Rattler, I love his arm, love his confidence, love his swagger. I have major questions about his ability to read a defense. I did in college, so I mean that's certainly going to extend over into the NFL. And you always expect a rookie quarterback to have his growing pains. I am hoping that either Rattler or Haener, can play consistently enough through training camp and preseason to give the coaches enough confidence to say, all right, this guy can be our number 2. We don't need to give the job to Nathan Peterman, or just go or go out and scour the waiver wire for another established veteran.
So speaking of Nathan Peterman, it is astounding how that guy has been able to remain as an NFL backup for as long as he has. Because he's shown every time he's touched the field in an NFL game, he's shown repeatedly that he is incapable of performing.
Didn't he play well for the Bears like a year ago or something?
Yeah, he probably threw a touchdown and 2 picks.
He played okay for like 1 game, and that was it.
I never saw like what people saw in Nathan Peterman, or what people continue to see in Nathan Peterman for him to remain on an NFL roster.
No, man, me either. I don't get it at all. And, I've been asked the Rattler question a bunch of times. I've been asked the Haener question a bunch of times. I always end it with this. If neither one of these guys, Rattler or Haener, can beat out Nate Peterman, then they probably should immediately look to get on to another line of work. Nathan Peterman might be
hiring greeters.
Right. Nathan Peterman might be a nice guy. He has NFL experience. I mean, he's been with several different NFL teams. So maybe you're looking at the kind of guy who might be a successful future coach. But as far as giving him a helmet and putting him out on a football field, none of us want to see that ever.
Hey, the XFL.
Never again. Never again. I just don't get how it shocks me every year he's on a different team. And I'm like, how is this guy still here?
Hey, Zach, he's great career stats. He has 4 touchdowns with 13 interceptions in his career.
My point is made.
All right.
He's tripled his touchdown interception ratio in the wrong direction.
He's talking about Nathan Peterman. It's not a touchdown interception ratio, it's an interception touchdown ratio.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna do a segment we do with guests for rapid fire. So I'm gonna ask you about
Terry.
What?
You say it's a segment, but you don't have a name for it. So you gotta name
fire.
it. Rapid fire. All right.
Rapid fire is a different thing, dude. You got to come up with something more creative. We'll think of it next week.
All right. So I got about 10 questions. I don't want you to think about them. Just answer them as fast as possible. And you ready?
No problem. I never think anyway. So shoot.
All right. If you'd be friends with any player in the Saints, who would it be?
Cam Jordan. Met him a couple of times already. Great. Just a great guy, fun guy, a big kid. Cam Jordan would be the guy I'd pal around with.
All right. Best move of the offseason?
I delayed there. Willie Gay, the linebacker. I think he's going to be a great athletic complement to Demario Davis, add a lot of speed to this defense.
And you look at their defense at the depth chart, at least. I mean, obviously it takes a difference on the actual field, but they have some good pieces on it, especially Chase Young. We'll see where he goes, but they do have talent on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Worst move of the offseason?
Not counting Nathan Peterman, the worst move, in my opinion, was not addressing the tight end position more. There were a lot of affordable tight ends, productive pass-catching tight ends that would have been a great fit in Kubiak's offense, and I've seen this the last 3 years with the Saints. They don't emphasize the position. I like Juwan Johnson. I would have liked to see another compliment to him.
Yeah, that's a interesting way of describing a position group as affordable.
Yeah.
No, we can't.
All right. What grade did you give the Saints draft this year?
C plus. I love Fuaga, as I said before. I love the cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry that they got in the second round.
Oh, I didn't know
I'm
he
excited.
Yeah.
What's that?
I didn't know he went to New Orleans.
Yeah. I love the player and love the logic behind the pick. I think he's going to have immediate value. They'll find a way to use him in the secondary. But outside of those first two picks, they don't have anybody that's going to make an impact this year. Not going to be Spencer Rattler. Bub Means, the receiver out of Pitt, I like. But he's going to have a tough time seeing the field. And then they drafted, an offensive tackle later on in the draft too that'll be lucky to make the team. So, as far as immediate value, you're only seeing it from the top two picks. That's why I give it a C plus.
All right. What is the Saints' biggest weakness heading into next season?
Offensive line, no question about it. We already talked about that. Tons of big ifs at the edge rusher position too. On paper, looks like a good group, but a lot of questions to answer from a lot of players. But it doesn't beat the questions and concerns that Saints fans have on the offensive line.
All right. How about biggest strength heading into the season?
Cornerback spot. I defy anybody to tell me a better cornerback group than Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, who played at a Pro Bowl level last year, Alontae Taylor, who's probably going to be a hybrid safety, and now you add Kool-Aid McKinstry into the mix. This group has the talent to shut down a lot of receiving cores on the schedule.
Yeah, Paulson Adebo is really underrated.
Yeah,
I think it's good safety group too. All right, team MVP for 2024.
Prediction for team MVP. I'm gonna go. I know he's holding out. I'm shocked you guys didn't ask me about it. I think it's going to be Alvin Kamara. I just think Kamara is a wonderful fit in Kubiak's offense. I mean, you look what he did with Christian McCaffrey last year. Kamara isn't as good a runner as McCaffrey, maybe between the tackles, but is easily just as good a receiver. I think Kamara is going to end his holdout by early in training camp. They're going to get those finances squared out, and he's going to have a career year, bounce back after a couple statistical down seasons.
All right. One surprising and one disappointing player.
Surprising player. I'm going to say Alontae Taylor. I think I kind of hinted that I believe that we'll see Alontae in kind of a hybrid corner safety role this year. He struggled a little bit in coverage last year. They kind of threw him into the slot, a position he'd never played before. He's had an offseason to digest it, and he's a really physical player. I think he's going to make some plays for that Saints defense. My expectation for most disappointing player, and it pains me to say this, I think it's probably going to be Trevor Penning. I don't say that he's a guy that's trapped in his head. He can't get out of his own way. Nasty physical player, but just the athletic edge rushers and athletic defensive linemen of the NFL are frankly making him look foolish.
Mm-hmm.
It's never great to have a name named Trevor.
Thanks, man.
All right, last one. Projected division standings. You don't have to give the specific records for all teams, but how do you think they'll end up, and what do you think will be the Saints' final record?
I really do think that Saints have the capability to win the NFC South. The division as a whole it's not as bad as what people think from top to bottom, but it's still not a great division. Nonetheless, Tampa Bay, I think, is going to win the division again, beating New Orleans out probably by no more than a game or a tiebreaker scenario. Atlanta will be a distant third because the Falcons are going to Falcon. They're going to do what they always do. The Panthers made some nice offseason moves. I like the direction that they seem to be going. If they could just be patient, they'll eventually right the ship, but it ain't going to be there yet. Panthers will end up in last. Overall, I think I predict that Tampa Bay and New Orleans will both end up with 10-7 records. But something funky will happen with the Saints, and they'll lose out on a tiebreaker again this year.
All right, Zach.
So I ask this question to every guest that comes on. You can't tell by the jersey I'm wearing because it's my practice jersey from high school. But I'm a Jaguars fan. So I have a question for you. What is your record prediction for the Jaguars this year?
Speaking of 10 wins, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars pull in at least 10 wins. I think this is a playoff team. Everybody's handing the division to the Houston Texans, and I can see why. But I think Jacksonville is going to give them a run for their money. I don't understand why so many of the national experts are down on the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars are still a legitimate playoff team. Yeah, I think they pull in a 10-7 record and get back into the postseason.
All right, I hope you're right. Thank you again, Bob, for coming on. Why don't you go ahead just one more time, plug yourself so that people that listen to this or watch this later can
find
guys. I appreciate you having me on. I know it was a little helter-skelter. I was actually jumping from one show onto yours, but had a lot of fun joining you tonight. Hopefully it won't be the last time. Folks, you can follow me personally on Facebook, Bob Rose, ROSE. I'm over on Twitter at BobbyR2613. I do cover the New Orleans Saints for the Saints News Network, and we do all the articles for the SI.com, the Sports Illustrated team page. So just go over to SI.com and look for the New Orleans Saints, and you'll find our works there. And please, not this week, like I said, we're taking the week off, but catch our show, The Bayou Blitz. Typically runs on Wednesday nights for about an hour at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And you can go onto YouTube and catch some of our past shows and interviews as well.
All righty. Thank you again, Bob, for coming on.
Bob knows ball. Bob, you know ball.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, you have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
All right, before we bring this last guest on, we got to come up with a different saying than "Do you want to plug yourself?" Like, I don't know.
I said, "Do you want to?" Where can they find you? That's kind of.
Kerry, you said it. You were like, "No, you said it for the Falcons guy."
I can never think of
You
a
wanna
good
plug
one.
yourself?
I struggle every time. I'm like,
All right, our next guest. If you want to promote yourself, now this
that's better than plug yourself, I guess.
there we go. That's much better, Zach.
I'm a massive fan of a podcast that asked me to plug myself. I'm absolutely
Exactly.
down for that. Yeah, I mean, why not? Let's
It
be
works.
honest, guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we spend most of our show talking about Johnson in the slot. So, yeah, I'm Sammer Ali. Okay, I'm the Sammer Ali on Twitter. And I am one of the three amazing hosts of the Loose Cannons podcast. You guys can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/at Loose Cannons podcast. What's up, dudes? I'm finally on the Beerly Football podcast. About
We're
time.
glad to have you, man. Are you
Happy to have you.
You in Tampa?
I am in Sarasota. So, you know,
Oh.
little
Hey, I
30-minute drive.
We could have recorded this together, man.
Now we have one Bucs fan and one former Bucs fan who left the fan base because of Jameis Winston on here.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
You
that
left the
that's
fan
me.
base?
I left the
That-
fan base. In my defense, I told them beforehand that I was leaving the fan base if they drafted Jameis.
Hold on. So you had a chance to be a fan free agent and you went to the fucking Jaguars?
right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like being
Yeah.
a free agent and taking the money the Pistons are handing out. Like,
Well,
there's
listen.
no point.
Okay. Listen. Okay. It would have felt weird to leave the Bucs, who were in a bad place at the time, and go to a team that was on top of the world. Like that.
Like,
That just makes
you wanna
me.
pick
That
the
just
worst
makes
of the
me.
worst?
That just makes me a.
I know, but
that
you
just
could have
makes me
gone.
a bandwagoner, and I don't want to be
You
a
could have gone.
bandwagoner.
You could have gone to a team with some heritage or some blue collar. About like the Steelers weren't doing great at that time, but they were, respectable. You go to a team that spends half its time across the pond playing home games that don't even count as home games. Come on,
I mean, like for the
they
Jaguars,
have dolphins
around.
swimming in their pools at the stadium.
I mean, do
That's
we
because
even know
That's because we own the Dolphins.
they might be like the Saudi Arabia Jaguars by 2030? Or the,
No, they're never
I'm
leaving
Jaguars.
Jacksonville.
Khan's
They're never
not
leaving
Arab.
Jacksonville.
Khan is Indian. Come on, man. That's
They're not
Yes.
leaving Jacksonville. They're never leaving Jacksonville. Khan's
No,
going to
the
build that
Saudis-
new stadium, and they're going to get back their biggest jumbotron thing. And
No, the Saudis are smarter than to pay that man a bunch of that money. Come on.
I think he actually lives pretty close to me. I think actually.
Shad Khan,
Yeah, I think he lives in Naples. I think it's
smart man. It's a great area. And
sure.
not very busy during the summertime.
I mean, you have to be
Traffic's
rich,
low.
but otherwise,
Yeah, I'm about to say that there's a lot of rich old whites down there.
Yeah.
Hey, sometimes you got to get to know the rich old whites, you know?
You're working on a golf course, Zach. I bet you.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
know a lot of rich old whites.
I mean, you do live in Florida, so,
Let's talk some football, man. Living up here in Tampa, I got some Bucs fans that I talked to, keeping up with the mini camp, the OTAs. One of the hotter topics I've heard from both of those is the wide receiver 3 position, kind of be battling out between a few guys. But I've heard very good things about Jalen McMillan. Would you say those things are true? Do you think he's the wide receiver 3 right now? Who can we expect to jump into that role?
Listen, they've had rookie camp and a couple OTAs and a mandatory mini camp. He is not wide receiver 3 by any means. He could be. He's not right now. Right now, he's got to take that spot from
Palmer.
Trey Palmer.
Palmer.
I forgot his first name. Trey Palmer. And Trey Palmer knows it's the second year in the system, a very similar system. He has a chance to grow and become more of a focal piece in terms of the offensive attack. And he knows that J-Mac is there looking to take that spot. But I think in that group, in that room, the fact that they're led by a guy like Mike Evans and a guy like Chris Godwin, who have never looked at each other as I'm the guy, they've been more of a collective group. And they understand that you need all these guys to function and be a productive offense. And I think they understand that they all have their roles to play. They're all going to have their chances. As long as they maximize their chances when they're in the game, that's what matters the most. I do see J-Mac being a very, very good replacement for Chris Godwin, who I have a feeling is not going to be back after this season. So I think the Bucs drafted him with that in mind, knowing that Chris Godwin was going to play a lot of that slot role this year, going to do a lot of the same stuff that Cooper Kupp did with the Rams and Liam's new offense. That very similar to that, brings some of the concepts that Dave had before that. But also, if he leaves, you have a guy in J-Mac who understands how to play with 2 other stars, understands how to be the 3rd wide receiver, but more importantly, is ridiculously talented at running crisp routes and works very, very well out of the slot. So I see him as a future Chris Godwin replacement, but I see all 4 guys having chances this season to go out there, have a little bit of fun, and they're going to figure out ways to get the ball in all their hands. And if you can get hands on balls in this offense, I'm all for it.
You can get hands on balls, period, in life. You're having
I
a good
agree.
time.
Yeah.
Plugging ourselves.
Get those hands on balls and plug yourself all day, baby.
I just looked at this depth chart, and half of this podcast is Bucs fans. Do you realize this is 2024 and you have Sterling Shepard on your roster? I did not know he was in the NFL.
I mean, that's fine.
Is
Yeah, it was
there
like
a
an
chance
early-
he can make the
Mike Evans.
Oh, wait. Hold on. I just got
Did
a
he make the
notification
roster?
from ESPN. Sterling Shepard tore his Achilles coming out of the shower. So he's done for the year.
Well, it doesn't matter. He would have been wide receiver 5 or 6 anyway. So
It's fair.
He'll
but
see the field, but it's not like he's going to come down to Tampa and do anything crazier than he ever did in New York. With guys like Jalen McMillan, Raheem Jarrett, who's been, I heard, burning Jamel Dean at practice. It's not a good look. But
I do.
Yeah.
there's
I
a
feel
lot
like
of talent on this wide receiver core, and that's exactly. I mean, Baker's a guy that likes to spread the ball around. He likes to throw it his running back, his tight end, and all of his receivers. It's good to have 5 guys that, maybe not the average NFL fan, but if you're a Bucs fan or you're a fan of the NFC South, you've probably heard of at least 4 of these guys, if not 5.
And the one guy you kind of forget about is Cade Otton, who really turned up in the end of last year. I think he could really have a good breakout of the year this year.
Dude, I got drunk for our fantasy football draft last year, and I drafted Cade Otton in like the 7th round.
And you
that's a
dropped
steal,
him.
though. That's not bad.
Yeah.
But my thing with Cade is that I think the expectations have to be tempered with that guy, only because the offense that they run, if you go back and just compare it to the Rams or Sean McVay, tight ends don't typically do all that much in the offense. It's just not built for that. And you have a guy in Rachaad White who's technically wide receiver 3/4. He's really going to be an option on a lot more routes than he was with Dave Canales. He's got ridiculous hands. He's very good after the catch. And when you get him in space, he has that Christian McCaffrey type ability, very
Mhm.
similar to Kamara, just a little beefier, a lot
He's
taller.
a good pass catcher. Yeah.
And he's
Yeah,
I mean, he had a couple screen passes last year where he took him to the house. And if you're a Bucs fan, that's happened maybe 3 times in our entire existence. We had it happen like 2.5 or 3 times last year alone with him. So
Haven't
he's
seen
going to
that
be
Cadillac
used a lot.
Williams, huh?
I was just
Yeah.
about to
Yeah.
say Cadillac Williams.
Cadillac.
This is my favorite
And-
player.
Bucky Irving's a good pickup too. He was pretty good at Oregon. He's a good change
He'll
pace
probably
back
beat
behind
out,
us.
Sean Taylor, who I mean, what can you even say about that guy? He was running back 3 last year. Chase Edmonds got hurt, and they still
You mean
didn't
Shane?
play.
You mean Sean Tucker?
Sean Taylor's
Sean
dead.
Tucker?
Yeah. You said Sean Tucker. I think you said Sean Taylor.
Yeah, Sean
Oh,
Taylor
yeah.
is.
Sean Taylor was
Yeah,
running
Sean
back.
Taylor's passed away. Rest in
But
peace.
yeah, Sean Tucker, Chase Edmonds got hurt and they still didn't play him. So, I mean, it's a question to where he'll even make the team this year.
Yeah, the running back position is probably going to be Rashad White and a mixture of Bucky and the old dude that you just mentioned, who I just forgot. Chase Edmonds. And he's a little bit like Chase. That's what's really, really funny about how they drafted him. He's very similar. He's just a lot younger, and then he doesn't shy away from contact. He likes to hit the whole hard and run you over. But again, another pass catcher that the Bucs understand that if they can get him on the field in some fashion or another, they can expose the defense, especially if he's on the field with J-Mac and Rashad at the same time, and you got him kind of sitting next to Baker. You can call screens on both sides. You can do all sorts of fun stuff and gadgety stuff. And remember, Liam came from that offense in L.A. with Sean McVay, where they have a lot of these fun little gadgety checks that happen at the line with these playmakers. And then Bucs are going to expand on what they built on last year and allow the offense to kind of attack with their skill players and also make changes at the line, which I guess was not happening last year or wasn't allowed. So that was a big thing. Again, if you read between the lines at Liam's most recent press conferences over the last couple months, he took some shots at Dave Canales, which I'm all for, because Dave, in my opinion, is too pretty to be a coach. I need an ugly coach. And I think Liam Cohen fits the
I've
bill.
said that so many times. Bring
The
more
uglier
fat coaches to the NFL.
No. I didn't say fat. I said old. Old and ugly. Ugly.
More
okay?
Rex,
Ugly's more important.
Rex Ryan? How about that? Rex
Listen,
Ryan, bring him back?
If I have to fear cardiac arrest for any of my coaches, I'm not having that. I don't like that. I just need an ugly coach, because an ugly coach is not going out having fun. He knows what his job is. It's a coach.
A little bit off topic, but did you guys Bill Belichick's new girlfriend?
Oh my god!
Shout out to that guy. He's pulling at this age. Come on.
I just want to know how does she introduce her parents to be like, oh, this is the 75-year-old man I'm dating?
She didn't have to introduce him. It's fucking Bill Belichick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More like how does she introduce her parents to Bill Belichick?
Yeah, that's more important. Exactly. Dude, are they even good enough to meet him? That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the question, really, at this point.
And also, here's my thing: how did they talk? How did they meet? Because there's no way she understood him at the bar, right?
There's no way he's social.
On a cruise ship or a plane.
Really great.
It was one of
Imagine Bill Belichick with a dating app, like with
Tinder.
the celebrity.
Bill Belichick on Tinder.
You know, like that celebrity dating app they have. Like Bill Belichick is just on there.
Oh,
What
actually, I actually do.
What would
know
his
that.
profile even say? Like,
I would love to hear his pickup line with the mumble thing that he does. Just
What
he's
is
so
that?
dry.
Yeah.
We're focused on Cleveland, or what was that he said?
We're on to Cincinnati.
We're on to Cincinnati, yeah.
But were you on the Baker train last year, or did Baker
Absolutely.
kind of pull you in?
No,
That's a lot of
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. I knew some stuff from behind the scenes that he was trying to be here. He wanted to be part of this team. He took definitely a pay cut compared to some other teams that he could have signed with. But he wanted to be here. He wanted to be part of this team, and he understood he had one more chance. It was going to have to be with a team that was a little bit more stacked in his favor, and that they were going to let him be himself. And he's much more mature than people realize. I think he's gotten a bad rap with his Cleveland days and, the whole thing with OBJ. Everybody who's played with him here in Tampa from day one absolutely loves this guy. They love his energy. He's contagious. It literally drips off of him, the confidence and the team, like that team camaraderie feeling that you get from a guy. And he just rallies these dudes, and they love playing for him. He's been an amazing teammate. And that's what's crazy to hear, is that usually you got the opposite report, how the media likes to drum stuff up and whatnot. It's nonsense. And he's an awesome dude, man. And he still likes to party. He just knows when. He just knows when to party.
Even 5 years ago, when the Bucs were, had Jameis with the 30 touchdown or however many, 30 touchdowns, 30 turnovers.
30.
So he had the talent all over the field. Just, Mike Evans, obviously a leader of his own. But Tom Brady came in, did his thing on the field. He was also a great leader. And I think that's what, has been so big with Baker Mayfield. He's producing on the field. He's putting up good stats. He's putting the offense up and down the field. But he's also a leader, too, a guy that the offense will get behind. They'll fight for. And that's why, he played a lot better than I thought he was going to play last year. And I'm so glad to have him back for at least another 2 years.
Were both you guys happy with the contract? The contract
Absolutely.
you got?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Trevor? Yeah.
Look at the Jaguars. I mean, my guy won a playoff game at least, right? The one time that guy played in the playoffs, he gave up what it was a 28-0 lead to a dude who didn't win another game after that. Come on.
4 picks.
You got to win a playoff game to get paid, in my opinion. That's why I feel
we've
like
got a playoff win. I don't know what you're talking about.
He got a playoff choke.
He got a
like,
playoff W is what he got.
Trevor Lawrence won a playoff game. When?
Yes, he did.
The comeback against the Chargers.
It's the Chargers.
I thought he gave up the comeback.
No,
they
that
were-
was
they were
Justin
up.
Herbert.
Justin Herbert gave up the.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember
They
it.
were down 28 to
Okay,
was it
my bad.
28 to
My
3 or
bad.
28 to nothing.
My bad. He
I
won
can't
an
remember.
accident. He accidentally won a playoff game. I'm sorry.
So you can trash Herbert for not having any playoff
All right,
wins.
all right.
and getting
That's
the
my
Houston-
mistake. For some reason, I remember Sunshine being the one that blew the game.
I mean,
don't
he
know
did throw
Well,
what?
I mean, they're
like
kind of
4
both
interceptions?
Sunshine,
No
honestly.
sunshine. Yeah.
why. Yeah. Trevor looks more like him though.
That's
I
true.
actually
He
think
does.
Trevor Lawrence, in a subjective way, is a little bit more attractive than Justin Herbert.
So I was going to
Right.
ask you guys of the long, golden locks of quarterbacks, how would you guys rank them?
It's got to be Herbie over Lawrence.
I think so too, man.
Yeah,
But I thought he chopped. I thought he chopped the hair off a couple
I
seasons
think he
ago.
did actually. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like Tom now with that.
I guess
I'd probably give the edge to Herbert and arm talent. I think that the situation he's been in over the last couple
We're not
years.
talking about arm talent. What are you talking about, Zach?
Zach.
We're talking about hotness, dude. We're asking who's the
hotness?
hotter quarterback.
Oh yeah, 100% Herbert's hotter. Yeah.
There we
You
go.
know what the fuck about football right now?
Exactly.
In
Sorry,
terms of arm
sorry,
talent, in terms
sorry.
of arm talent, he's got dude. What?
Okay, what
Yeah,
about
you're a
Herbert?
Jaguar
on,
fan
Zach.
for sure.
We don't belong to the Beer League podcast. We're just a place.
Wow.
All right, spin this thing back to the Bucs. We talked some offense, talked about some weapons. Defensively, maybe not a lot of household names to the average NFL fan, but to Bucs fans and all the Bucs fans tuned in right now, Kalijah Cansey, former first-round pick, Vita Veda, who has slimmed up and is still in his prime, Yaya Diaby, and another former first-round pick, Joe Tryon Shavanka.
Shoyinka.
4 guys that are going to get after the quarterback this year. That should be – I'm very excited to watch the defense.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how they work in Chris Braswell. And I'm more excited. I know you kind of went on the defensive line there. I'm excited to see Tyke Smith, the corner that they drafted, who plays safety. He plays nickel. He kind of roams around and plays a lot of that honey badger type of role that Todd Bowles loves to have. He also has that guy in Antoine Winfield Jr., who is still a Buck. And then you brought in Jordan Whitehead, obviously, who I think kind of solidifies the back end. But you got this chess piece in Tyke Smith, which I don't know how they're going to use yet. And with the fact that they got rid of Carlton Davis, it's all on Jamel Dean at this point to be quarterback 1. They're going to find ways to get that kid on the field. But
What
going
about
back to the
Jonathan
defense,
Collins? You don't think he could be one?
he won't be quarterback 1. No. Jamel Dean has all the talent. Jamel Dean just needs to hold the damn ball. Once the ball is in his hands, he's got to make that catch. That's the only thing that's holding him back from being a top 5 cornerback and a household name. Honestly, he plays very, very well. He has some lapses where he's a little bit, lackadaisical at times. And if he's not, engaged from the beginning of a game, you do see him kind of, loaf a little bit. But he understands that Carlton is gone. It's all on him. He's the leader in that room at this point. And I think he will come up and he'll step up this season. But going back to the defensive line, it's a massive year for JTS. It's his contract year, basically. I don't think the Bucs are going to keep him regardless of what he does, but it's up to him to force that decision to be tough, right? Right now, he's going to become a rotational piece, and you bring in a guy like Chris Braswell, who has apparently massive hands, great hands, which is a massive part of being a defensive end, and he's going to get time out on the field. And if he plays well, he's going to do a lot of what we saw from Yaya Diaby, which is force the coaches to play him and become impact on the field. And then JTS is kind of gone. But I will give JTS credit. Last year in spurts, he did flash and he played well against the run. And he did a lot of what he's supposed to do as edge 2. But at that draft position, you need him to be edge 1. You need 2 guys in the NFL nowadays, especially against these massive offensive lines and these guys that like to get creative and get the ball out quickly. You got to have guys that could be there quicker than the quarterback and get the ball out. So I see Chris Braswell eventually taking his job, and then you have a 4-headed monster of these. I mean, Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey next to each other for an entire season, with Kalijah now adjusted to the speed of the game. I don't know if you guys watched that Lions playoff game. We gained that last possession to possibly tie the game until Baker threw that pick because of Kalijah Kancey. Like, that game could have been completely over. Lions, kneel it out. But Kalijah Kancey forces a play, and he flashed massively on the second half of that season when he finally got to play. So I'm definitely excited to see how he's going to come out there and make impact. But him and Vita Vea next to each other, both healthy. Vita, like you said, slimmed down, getting stronger, working out with Sue in the offseason to be more of a body that can play. Yeah, a body that can play the entire season as opposed to kind of go through the aches and pains. I'm excited to see how that all works out, because if you can keep them on the field together, those guys are very, very difficult to guard, because both of them demand doubles, but you only got 5 guys, and you can't give 4 to 2. So,
well, sticking here on the defensive line, one more question about the defensive line. We talked about those 4 guys who are going to be getting after the quarterback as much as possible. The rookie. What rookie?
Chris Braswell, the guy
Chris
at touchdown,
Braswell, right, out of Alabama, and then
you're a Bucs fan,
William
or
Golston.
He's a Bucs fan when it's going well.
I'm trying to think of who hasn't showed up yet. He was from the Cowboys.
Oh, Randy Gregory?
Right, yeah. Is he even going to be on the team?
I don't know yet. He hasn't shown up. The news came out that he was suing the NFL or suing not the Cowboys, I believe the Broncos. And then once that news came out, mandatory camp 2 days later, no Randy Gregory. No show, no call, no nothing. I mean, he's doing the Bucs like you did Winn-Dixie when you were 17 years old, right? You just don't show up.
Yeah. Todd Bowles was asked about it. He said, I can only coach the players that are here. Randy Gregory, was brought in to be like a bridge guy or a guy to just plug in. But now, I mean, do they even need him? I mean, with all this talent, young players.
He's still got talent. I mean, if he actually plays.
Yeah, I don't think they brought him in expecting 10 sacks. They didn't bring him in thinking he's going to be their 3rd edge rusher off the bench. I don't think they brought him in for any of that. I think they brought him in to see what he could do. Let's kick the tires. If he makes the team, he's going to rotate at some point, and maybe he makes a play or 2. Like, we're not expecting 5 sacks even at this point from this guy, but he's talented enough to where you give him a shot. And this is not the way to. This is not a very good first impression.
No.
And from the guys I've talked to, they really don't know what's going on. So this is my thing. If you have the lawsuit and that lawsuit is a reason in some capacity to not show up, that's fine. I could understand that. But to not communicate, to not tell the coaches, to not tell the GM, the people that are literally giving you your last chance in the NFL, to not communicate with them, it shows a lack of immaturity. It shows a lack of respect. It shows just a lack of care. It's like, I really don't care about this. And if that's how you're going to be, then I don't expect you to be here very long, because they're not going to there's going to be guys, there are guys that are in front of $1 banging on the door for a chance, just a chance to try out. Yeah. And you got a guy getting money, getting a chance, a 3rd, 4th chance at this point, just like kind of tossing it in the wind. Mm-hmm. I don't like that. I think that's disrespectful. You have a reason, communicate it. If they don't think that's a valid reason, that's fine. But at least you've done your part as a mature adult. We don't show up for work. We got to say something. We can't just not go. It's not McDonald's. It's not the McRib. It's too busy. I can't go in today. It's nothing like that. You got to communicate.
All right. We're going to do I don't know if you saw this last guest. We're going to do rapid fire with you. Ask you about 10 questions.
Before we go into this, Kerry, I just want to say one of the funniest things about doing this show and seeing people like in the waiting room and like is seeing their reactions to the previous guest answering questions. Because your reactions were incredible to our Saints guest whenever he was doing these. He was like
Yeah, he
What
said
is
the
he-
Saints have the capability to win the division, of course. I'm like, of course, since what? What?
He goes for
Y'all need to
13.
pay rent on your stadium, bro. What are you talking about?
And then he said that the Bucs will win the division, and he goes down there. He's like, yeah.
I wish I could hear these. Jeez.
Yeah, I was in the
Oh
waiting
man,
room.
it was incredible. I just
You
saw him
can't put, like,
in the bottom
Every episode,
corner of my
just four
screen.
guests in a cage match and see what happens.
Oh, dude, we should just
You don't want
do
to mess
fights.
with the loose cannons.
Falcons, Panthers, Bucs. I'll put them all in there and see who comes out.
Yeah, we'll just see. We'll make it happen. Get them all in the room, and then just leave.
Yeah, I don't think
All
they'll
right.
do well.
Just picture. All right. So if you could be friends with any player in the Bucs, who would it be?
Does it count that I'm already friends with some?
Who's the best friend then?
Sure.
On the Bucs?
Yeah.
I'm pretty good friends with Rashad. I think he's a really dope ass dude. He's super humble, super down to earth, and just if you didn't see how massive he was in person, you would never think he was an NFL player. The way he acts, the way he holds himself, and the expectation that it's never enough, that I got to keep working hard. I've not arrived. He doesn't have any of that feeling, and he's just such a nice guy. He's super cool with my kids, and I just appreciate him as a human, let alone football players. So yeah, that would have to be my answer.
Yeah.
Who would be a dope ass best friend though? Baker, for sure.
Yeah. See that.
Absolutely.
All right. Biggest win of the offseason for the Bucs.
Biggest win of the offseason, man. That's a tough one because a lot of people thought Mike Evans and Baker were gone, and people thought Antoine Winfield was not going to be a guy that could sign back, but they pulled all those off. But I didn't have any discouragements or feel that wouldn't happen. But to steal Graham Barton in the draft, a guy who should have been a top 15 pick. But you know what? At the end of the day, I think Jordan Whitehead is probably the biggest piece to be added on this defense and on this team in the offseason. Because last year, so many times the defense did everything right. 9 out of 10 things were perfect, except there was the safety running around with no idea what to do back there in Ryan Neal. So, he gave up plays. It's very rare to say that player lost us a game. I think he did it 3 times. Honestly, I think he did it 3 times. And for Jordan Whitehead to come in, be a better Jordan Whitehead, a more mature Jordan Whitehead, and a more knowledgeable Jordan Whitehead, who's now gotten his feet wet in a different defense and can come back, reflect, and be another leader on that team, it opens up so much more for Antoine, which is crazy because he had some out-of-body experience last year in 2024 with doing things that safeties have never done. But now he's going to be more
free. The goal line were crazy.
He single-handedly did a play that rarely happens. He did it twice in one season.
Yeah.
And it saved games both times. And that's insane. And to say that he's going to now have a chance to be more freed up to make plays, that's insane. That's just insane to think about. But Jordan Whitehead just barely edges Graham Barton because, and if I go back to Graham Barton, the one weakness the Bucs really had on offense last year was they had no offensive line push, no physicality up front. They really missed Brian Jensen over the last 2 seasons. Yeah. And Graham Barton almost immediately upgrades that position, addresses that entire feel. And if he can grow into that leadership role, if he can grow into just half of what Tristan Wirfs was in his rookie season, then bam, you've got a massive, massive piece there. Sorry, I know you said rapid fire, but I talk a lot, so you usually have to deal
keep going.
No, how long have you been a Bucs fan?
Since I was 10. I don't look very old, but
you remember these safeties back when I was a kid were my favorite safeties ever.
You're like 12 years old.
And Winfield might have a chance to. It was Jermaine Phillips and Tenard Jackson.
He's already better than them. What are you talking about?
But I don't know why.
It's less about who's better. It's more like
nostalgia.
His favorite. This is
nostalgia.
At 11 years old.
Antoine Winfield doing this to Tyreek Hill in the Super Bowl when he couldn't catch a pass. He's already surpassed the nostalgia of both of those players combined. Come on, Trev. Come on.
Kane isn't here, Zach. We'd be talking about Keith Tandy.
Yeah, he'd talk about.
He was a nice guy, but
Keith Tandy's cool.
He's a cool guy.
We should have Zane on for this. All right, how about biggest L of the offseason?
Biggest L of the offseason? Ooh, that's tough, man. I don't know. I don't think they're really
closest thing to an L.
Yeah.
not
else.
getting a premier edge rusher in the draft. I don't know. The Bucs literally did everything they're supposed to do. They signed back all their guys. They added guys. They brought in, I kind of wanted them to go get the former Ram center / guard to kind of come in here and almost immediately become the left guard.
Jackson or no Rams?
He's on the Browns now as like a backup guy. So I really don't know what to say to that. I'm not trying to sound like there's all rainbows and sunshine, but they really didn't lose anything. They didn't. I don't think Dave Canales leaving is a big deal like people think. He had a lot of shortcomings, and a lot of guys in that locker room didn't like what he was doing because he seemed to always go away from what was good. So I think they've upgraded in that position. So that's the one guy they lost. I guess maybe.
How about biggest strength and biggest weakness heading into next season?
The biggest strength is I think the weapons on offense, primarily the wide receiver room. I mean, massive talent in there, just from top to bottom. Guys that won't even play are probably wide receiver 3 on some other teams. That's that talented. And what was the other part of that question?
Biggest weakness.
Biggest weakness. The left guard is a question, and the inside linebackers are kind of a question. I think outside cornerback, maybe, because I don't know what Zion McCollum's going to do when he's the full-time starter. He's had spurs and moment where he's shown up, and other times where he hasn't, and he's had some, brain farts. So I think inside linebacker, cornerback, and I still need to see what that left guard position is going to be. Is Ben Bredson going to be the guy that fills that spot? Is Sua Opeta going to be one of those guys that comes in and immediately upgrades it? Because they struggled in that position last year. And I know that Hainsey was a guard before he converted to center, but he's not going to be converting back to guard. So he'd be a backup center, if not the starting center. So I guess we got to see how that plays out. If they put their best 5 guys out there, or if they make sure Graham Barton's a center, or how it all plays out. But yeah, I mean, those 3 things are probably the ones that stand out.
Okay.
All right. How about team MVP for next season?
Baker Mayfield.
I like
Easy
it.
one. Easy one.
In fact, I love it.
All right, last ones. Projected division standings. Don't need the records, just placement and Bucs record.
I think the Bucs have a chance to win 12 games, honestly. I think they have a chance to win 12 games. They have a pretty smooth schedule on the back end after the bye week. They have some tough ones up front, but I think the tough ones are the ones that you kind of want, and I think they're eager for those challenges. And I think they win the division again 4 in a row here. I just think that they're top to bottom. They're just loaded with talent. And I think the shortcomings of last year have been addressed. And I think their offensive coordinator being upgraded to Liam Cohen and understanding kind of the intricacies of every piece of everything you do, as opposed to just having a recipe book. He knows how to build the recipes. And I think that's a massive upgrade. And him being able to take these guys, utilize those weapons properly, and put forth a consistently competitive offensive game plan week to week. I don't foresee us scoring 3 field goals against the lowly Panthers again. And that's a massive part of this team. We fell short so many times when our defense played their asses off, only because our offense just couldn't do the bare minimum to win a game. And I think that changes this year. I think both sides of this team are going to carry each other. And I think they win the division 12. Anything from 11 to 13 wins, I would consider very much a success.
All right. Zach, take it away.
Alrighty. So I'm a Jags fan. I ask this question to every guest that comes on during these off-season episodes where we talk about the divisions and do previews. How many wins do you think the Jaguars get this year? What's your prediction record for the Jags?
So I think the Texans are just going to be so damn good that, and I think the Titans are going to take a step forward, honestly, even though you might not think so. I think the Titans are going to take a step forward in 7-8 wins.
Okay.
For the Jags.
Ooh.
I think
there's a realistic man right there.
Yeah, I just don't like the plateau that they seem to have hit with their coaching staff and with their just it feels like they're just like they have so many weapons on offense. Like I'm envious, honestly. They have tight end, wide receiver type talent. That's crazy. But this is the year that Trevor's got to put it together. He's gotten paid. It was kind of surprising that they did it because if I was GM, I would have waited. But they paid him. Right. So now let's see if he rests on his laurels or if he goes out there and balls out and carries a team, puts them on his shoulders or not. But I'm still a little worried about the defense too. What do you got back there? What's really going to be impactful, make plays? And sometimes you got to win games on defense. I don't know, man. I think it's not so much that they're not good enough to win more games. I think they're in a division that is an absolute buzzsaw when it comes to so many different guys and playmakers on the other teams. It's just, and the Texans are going to be special, man. I hate to say it, because I've made fun of them since their inception, but they're going to be special.
All right.
You want to plug yourself?
Absolutely.
One more time?
I've been plugging myself the whole time, guys. I mean, it's literally sitting. No. All right. I am the Sammer Ali on Twitter. And you know what? Shout out to my boys, my co-hosts, Poppy Latte and Stank Bastard, all part of the Loose Cannons podcast. We cover the Bucs all year long. 3 shows a week during the season, 2 shows a week during the off season. We got player guest appearances. We got cooking shows with players. We've got the general manager, the assistant general. We got tons of cool guests to come on, hang out, talk ball, talk life, talk food. Check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/@Loose Cannons Podcast. Hit the subscribe button, slap a like, and leave a stank sucks comment for me on any video, guys.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Everyone, please go check them out, Loose Cannons Podcast. It really awesome that he came on and talked Bucs with us tonight during our NFC South preview. So,
yeah, now I can go take a shower. You guys made me run
Here
for
we go.
basketball, and now I can take a shower. Appreciate it. Hey, thank you for having me on, guys.
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for
Anytime.
coming. All right, you guys want to just go through our record standing predictions and wrap it up?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it, brother.
I would like to say, Zach, you might agree with me on this point.
Mhm.
It seems like all of our fans, when we brought up the Jaguars question, really kind of got on, I won't say got on their knees because that's inappropriate, but sucked off the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. You know, a team that's had one good year. You know, that's exciting and stuff. Get ready for a sophomore slump.
Wasn't
Hate
there
to
one?
say it.
Didn't one guy not?
They all said the Texans were going to be really good.
Yeah.
Didn't the guy that had
I heard
Jaguars
a lot
at
of
12
Texans
wins?
tonight for the NFC South.
Somebody of the Jaguars at 12 wins.
Yeah, but I mean,
And
he
they-
still said the Texans are really good.
was
I think
probably
the Texans are going to be good. And I wasn't here to talk Jaguars last week because you know I was trying.
Yeah, no, that's
It's next week.
Oh,
2
you
weeks.
said it was last week. At the beginning of
No.
the episode.
We did. What did we do last week, Trevor?
NFC East.
NFC East last week. So we got the AFC South next episode in 2
Oh,
weeks.
perfect. I'll talk more about it next week, but
2 weeks.
2 weeks from now, I'll talk more about it. I think this division is more open than people believe. I think everyone's already crowning the Texans the champions when I don't think that's necessarily the case.
Okay. All right. Trevor, are you going to write this down?
I don't really have anything to write it down on, but sure, I'll type it down. Who's going first? Gary?
Should we do all 4 or should we do something fun to go 4?
Just do all 4. Nobody's listening.
Yeah, I guess it's an hour and 40 minutes.
An hour and 42.
We
I
got
don't-
one listener. Hey,
I'm tired.
Lamont Taylor's out here, okay?
All right, Gary, who's winning
We
this?
are not a live show. We are people. You can listen to us at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning or whatever.
And you know what is even better than listening to us?
Oh,
You
God.
know what's even better than
Buying a
anything
t-shirt.
than anything that you could ever do in your entire life?
Yeah, really football butt plugs.
What?
You can plug
You can
yourself.
buy some Beerly football merch. Look at this stuff. Mugs, long sleeves, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, anything you could ever want and more at the Beerly Sports Teespring store. The link is down in the description below. Please make sure you check it out. Help support the show and all the stuff that we do, including doing these off-season episodes, which are fun, getting guests on, having them talk about their teams.
This is a tough division now that I think about it.
It is tough.
The NFC South?
Yeah.
Well, it's
Atlanta or Tampa?
Don't forget the Saints.
No, I forgot the Saints.
All right, I'll go first then. I'll have the Panthers at 4th. I'll put the Panthers at 5 and 12.
okay.
A little bit improvement. I think Bryce Young's a little bit better. 3rd, sadly, I like the Saints, but they did not get any better. I'm gonna put them at 7 and 9. No, that's impossible. 7 and 10 are the Saints. And then here's the true battle: Bucs, Falcons. Wow.
Read my name, Terry, right here.
I'll pick the Bucs.
There you go. You know who to pick now, Kerry.
So opposite. But I got the Bucs second at 10-7. And then my boy, Kirk Cousins, the Atlanta Falcons.
Captain Kirk.
Division, 11-6. Let's go.
Alrighty, so I'm going to mostly agree with Kerry here. I have the Falcons winning 11 games this year, going 11-6, taking down the division. I have the Bucs at 10-7. I think they're a good team, but I just think they're a couple of like key players away from a great team, especially on the defensive side of the football.
Do you think Baker will be as good as he was last year? Or
I think I don't think he sees much of a reduction in production.
Whoa.
I'm going off right now.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to see a crazy decline. I think he'll be just about as good, but I don't think the defense will be able to hold up because I think their schedule's not super easy. I don't think that their defense is well built to stop the Falcons. If it comes down to a tiebreaker, I think the Falcons got him.
And Mike Evans kind of fizzled out at the end of last year. Chris Godwin was always hurt. Rashad White is a great receiving back, but I've never liked him as a running back.
I love Rashad White.
He's a great receiver. He's never been great for first down.
Mike Evans is not a consistent receiver. Mike Evans will give you 3 catches for 39 yards one week, and then the next week he will have 9 catches for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, Zach.
I have the Falcons first 11-7, Bucs second
Zach,
10
fucked up.
11-6. 11-6. Bucs second at 10-7. I have the Panthers. The Panthers I have in third. I think that they're going to finish with 7 wins, 10 losses.
Wow.
And I have the Saints in last, do a tie break at 7 wins, 10 losses. I don't believe the Panthers have about 3 more years to if everything goes well with the Panthers over the next 3 years. That's how long it's going to take for them to start contending to win this division, in my opinion.
If they fly Bryce Young down to Mexico, get him a couple inches on his height, then they might be ready sooner than later. Otherwise, I don't think so.
But they're probably 3 years away from being a real contender in my eyes. The Saints, I think this is the year that they start the rebuild. I think that the next year things are going to get really bad for Saints fans because I think this is the year that they realize, okay, we gotta really break this team down and start over.
I forgot to ask that guy, but I think this will be Carr's last year in New Orleans. What do you guys think?
I don't give a shit.
Okay. Zach?
To be honest.
Barring a spectacular performance, which I don't think this team is well set up for, I agree. Right. So, Trevor, who do you got?
I got the Bucs winning the division at 10-7. I got the Falcons doing Falcon things, 9-8. It's good enough for a wild card in the NFC. The Saints at 7-10, and the Panthers with the worst record that I have assigned a team so far at 3-14 this season. Not a lot of us there.
If you want to listen to this guy's takes, just remember last year he went 0-8 on division
winners. That was
winner.
an obvious troll.
So I'm going to go with me and Zach on this one.
Yeah. I mean, the way I think about it is this. The Falcons, if they would have had
Cousins last year, they would have won the division easily.
They would have won 12 games last year with Cousins.
Maybe. They would have won 12. They would have made the playoffs with any quarterback that was actually competent.
Maybe.
Derek Carr would have made the playoffs with that team. All right.
Ahmad Taylor's picking the Saints to win the South. But
Derek Carr played like he did the last time.
If the Saints win the South this season, I'll do something.
What do you do?
I'll eat a half a pound of gumbo on the air or something. I don't know.
Half a pound? That's rookie
bottle
numbers.
Of Louisiana hot sauce. I'll drink.
You know what'd be incredible? You should just go in a bathtub and fill it full of gumbo and just record the entire episode in a bathtub full of gumbo.
Full of gumbo.
That'd be cool.
Okay, I'll either do that or drink an entire bottle of Louisiana hot sauce.
One or the other.
Or plausible at the time, but I don't think winning at all.
Well,
Jack
I
and Coke.
finished. So, Montaylor, Jack and Coke tonight. What are you boys drinking? So I'm drinking a high gravity Steel Reserve from the Steel Brewing Company. 8.1% alcohol. Actually went down much smoother than I expected it to. I thought it was going to be pretty terrible. It actually wasn't.
I didn't know they were so that strong. I had a
Monaco was actually 9%, but it didn't do things to me. I didn't make any sexual jokes tonight, so that's how I know I'm not.
That's not true at all. That
But-
whole last guest was sexual jokes.
Zach, you
you're
didn't see my kitty beer from last episode.
So I'll probably have a crazy headache in about 3.5 hours, but hopefully I'll be. But
Yeah.
But, Kerry, you ready for rapid fire?
forgot about
I
that.
did not know we were doing rapid fire tonight.
Oh, we don't have to if we don't want to.
Let's do 5 questions and wrap it up because I'm tired.
Okay.
Can we do the receiver core one? I think that's a good one.
Yeah, I'll do a Trevor tweet.
All right.
Top or bottom wide receiver core? The top is Jamar Chase, Dominic Smith, and Alec Pierce.
Dominic Smith,
I do that every time.
Devonta
Devonta.
Smith.
The bottom is Mike Evans, Puka Nacua, and Khalil Shakir. I don't know why you thought of Alec Pierce and Khalil Shakir, but sure.
Alex Pierce said, I just took some wide receiver threes.
I will go with Chase, Smith, and Pierce just because they're younger.
I'll go with
I
the
mean, if
bottom.
I'm looking for
Puka-
production right now, I'm definitely taking the bottom.
Puka and Shakir will wreak havoc over the
Yes,
Mike Evans
absolutely.
sucks. Horrible.
The top is a good answer too, though.
Would you rather watch football in person or on TV? I'm taking on TV.
Depends on the game and the stadium.
Game.
Depends on the game and
It
the
does depend on
stadium.
the stadium for me.
Most of the time though, on the couch with the boys, pounded brewskis
Facts.
UF Miami soon.
That's gonna be
during UF Miami during the bachelor party is gonna be nuts.
If Zane doesn't punch a wall, then it's not a real day.
Yeah.
We got to be careful about Zane near
It's gonna
walls.
be my credit card
Big-
on the Airbnb, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
look over. Zane's gonna punch a hole in the wall. And I'm gonna be like, oh.
All right, would you take the over or under on 23.5 passing touchdowns for Caleb Williams this season? 23.5 over or
I'll
under.
take
3.5.
very close under.
I
I'll take the over.
agree. I agree.
I think he'll beat it. He's got the
Like
weapons.
22 or 23 under.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Trevor. Actually, it's gonna be the under.
All right, last one for the night. This is another Trevor tweet. Who's the best NFL nickname of all time?
Huh.
Gronk is so basic. Got to go with Gronk. You don't even know his name's Gronkowski. He's just Gronk.
That's just shortening the name Gronkowski.
Exactly.
I think Revis Island is.
That's a good one.
Revis Island's tough.
Yeah.
As a corner, that's tough. I like the bus, Jerome Bettis, but I also love Revis Island.
The Red Rifle's pretty good.
Red Rifle's pretty good. I'm trying to think what else like nicknames there were.
Minshew Mania.
Minshew Mania,
Megatron, Beast Mode, The Bus.
Megatron, Beast Mode. I like Beast Mode a lot because I love the way he ran the football. Anyway,
Good
a
enough.
lot of good ones out there. I still think the bus is good because it's just like, all right, well, everyone knows what we're doing. We're inside the 5-yard line. Everyone knows we're getting on the bus. Just
Beautiful.
hand it off, and barrels through 8 guys.
That's how I try to use AJ Dillon on Madden, but it doesn't work.
Facts. Absolute facts. It also, Trevor, doesn't work in real life too, as the Packers. have found out.
Wow.
I like AJ Dillon though, so shout out to AJ Dillon.
Good for you.
I'd like him more if he didn't stream on Twitch at 2 a.m. before a big game.
I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, well, I didn't follow AJ Dillon on Twitch.
I might cut him.
I actually found that out via Twitter. So
Interesting.
That could be completely
It's
fake.
via? I thought it was via.
I don't know.
I
All
don't
right,
know.
follow us on Twitter at Beerly Football if you want all those type of debate tweets every day of the week. And check us out, Apple Podcasts, on Spotify at Beerly Football. Check us out on YouTube at Beerly Sports. Wherever you want to see us, go follow us, go listen to us. It's the off season. We'll still make it entertaining.
And
And
if you
Leave
want to
us a
do
review.
more, what?
leave us a review if you like us.
But you know what's even better than leaving a review, Carrie?
Giving us money.
Buying some of the greatest goddamn merch on the face of the planet. Look at this shit.
Oh yeah.
Look at this. Oh, it's so beautiful.
You know, we need help on Apple Podcasts. Our last review was 1 out of 5 garbage. Truly the ramblings of a guy at the party who pretends to know football. Then you find out they got cut from JV team as a junior and senior. So,
Damn.
yeah, give us better reviews than that.
Well, thank you everyone for watching and listening. We will be back in 2 weeks to discuss the AFC South and my team, the Jaguars. So,
Duval!
Duval. We will see you next time. Thank you.